everything now. This idea of PMs can ship code, designers can write PRDs, and engineers can product, and everyone's everything. There's a bunch of elements of this conversation. One is that I've heard from people that there's also this kind of confusion and frustration of like, what is my job anymore? Like, what am I responsible for as a PM, as a designer? Is that something you've experienced?
I hear it within Netflix for sure. I think anytime a new technology comes along, especially one that's as transformative as Gen AI, you go through a storming phase before you go through the forming phase of things. And I think we are in the middle of that right now. I don't think that means we should put AI back into the box and say, let's not use it, because this is complicating all of our preconceived notions about our roles. But I do think it means we have to be much more thoughtful about how do we get the benefits while reducing the costs. I think it's a great thing that people are experimenting with. How can I develop an idea faster, prototype an idea, put together an initial set of code that would allow us to test it? Do I believe that means anyone should be shipping code to production? That everyone should actually be doing everything? Probably not. But I think that it's good for people to be exploring what's possible. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the benefit of having product and tech teams together is that if the business problem is clear, I think it's okay and it's healthy for there to be some fluidity in the roles that people play, because instead of having to wait for the engineering team to be ready to be able to prototype something, product and design can move faster on it, but they should still work with their engineering partner to think through, how should we productize this? How do we scale it? What are the guardrails for it? So I don't think it makes the functional expertise obsolete. I think it means that teams have to be more comfortable with, maybe this helps us move faster in a certain direction. From an organizational perspective, things I think about to make this more coherent or less frustrating are some of the things that have to be in place for us to get the benefits rather than the cost. So that includes clarity on source of truth data, guardrails on shipping code to production or testing before we make large changes, thinking about opportunities where we can trust the output of AI versus we should have a process or review that helps us check that we're getting high quality outcomes, and the importance of reiterating that humans are still responsible for what happens. So it can be that an agent wrote the code or I helped to do an analysis when that's not really my background, but it doesn't make people not have the responsibility that comes with what they've created. So I think investing in some of those core infrastructure and practices and reiterating the accountability and responsibility for the outcomes helps to balance some of like what's possible with what we should actually be doing.
This episode is brought to you by our season's presenting sponsor, WorkOS. What do OpenAI, Anthropic, Cursor, Vercel, Replit, Sierra, Clay, and hundreds of other winning companies all have in common? They are all powered by WorkOS. If you're building a product for the enterprise, you've felt the pain of integrating single sign-on, SCIM, RBAC, audit logs, and other features required by large companies. WorkOS turns those deal blockers into drop-in APIs with a modern developer platform built specifically for B2B SaaS. Literally every startup that I'm an investor in that starts to expand upmarket ends up working with WorkOS. And that's because they are the best. Whether you are a seed stage startup trying to land your first enterprise customer or a unicorn expanding globally, WorkOS is the fastest path to becoming enterprise ready and unblocking growth. It's essentially Stripe for enterprise features. Visit workos.com to get started or just hit up their Slack where they have actual engineers waiting to answer your questions. WorkOS allows you to build faster with delightful APIs, comprehensive docs, and a smooth developer experience. Go to workos.com to make your app enterprise ready today.
What's really awesome about having you back on the podcast is we chatted like before AI was a massive transformation in the world. So it's a really cool arc that we can explore here, the shift that we've all gone through. Coming back to the roles of the product and eng teams, I'm curious how much these roles have changed in the last 2.5 years. If you think about product engineering, design, data science, user research, which roles have changed most? Which roles have changed least? Like what's most different in the last since 2.5 years ago?
So you've mentioned some of the things, so I'll reiterate them and then maybe build. So I have found that PMs, designers, data scientists are able to get farther in the product development lifecycle before engineering really needs to be front of the line in unlocking things than was true a couple years ago. I say that with some caution because, like we were talking about, I don't think it's great to all of a sudden have thousands of prototypes if they're not aimed at, this is an important problem to solve for the business. And the engineering partners are aware that we're solving that problem and that designers and product managers are going to take the lead in starting to shape the idea. But it's not working in a vacuum and it's not throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. But when it's the right problem, approached in a thoughtful way with some alignment on that, I've seen product design, data science move faster in the direction of let's get to something that's testable on this hypothesis. So that's prototyping, that's writing code. The other thing I've seen as being very valuable is we have a lot of information running around in the virtual walls of Netflix. We have experiments we've run over decades. We have insights from consumers. We have input from stakeholders across the business. And that was a problem that really presented a challenge of like, how do we get the most out of that long history of knowledge and learnings to say, let's apply that to the problem we've got now to move faster in this is a promising path, or this is something that we've learned something about and we could leverage here. And AI is very powerful at distilling information, looking across a broad set of things, doing an analysis around it, getting to the core of here's some insights to start with. I would hesitate to rely on that exclusively, but I think it's a head start. And I find even in my own work day to day, instead of sending an email that disrupts someone of like, remind me, what research did we do in what year and what was the question and what was the test we ran? I can find that almost instantly. Then I can form my own, here's what I find interesting about this. And I've now skipped a couple steps towards, is there something actionable here? So that's data analysis, it's modeling, it's distillation of information. And I'm seeing more people do that to your original question. So instead of that needing to be only the experts who were here for 20 years and saw every experiment or know where to find it, we're now able to do that faster within product and tech across all functions. And a big unlock for us is our business stakeholders sitting in finance and content and advertising can do that as well. And then bring back an initial hypothesis where they want to work more deeply with the data scientist and engineer and so on. So there's something there about the hypothesis generation, prototyping, thinking deeply about problems that feels like it's accelerating and that functions are able to do that in a more fluid way. But I still see comparative strengths. So data scientists are still going to be experts at, can we trust this data?